And God created man in his own image. In the image of God, he created him. Male and female, he created them. Was man created in the image of God, or was God created in the image of man? Let's assume that before human beings, things on earth did what they did. The earth spun, the sun shined, the moon glowed, the grass grew, the waters rushed, and the wind blew. If we somehow managed to destroy ourselves, wouldn't the earth continue doing what it does? The fact is, the world did not and does not need our religions, blessings, prayers, or God personifications to exist, nor is the world affected by what we think things are or how we think things came to be. What will be, with or without us. Humans tend to perceive God anthropomorphically. In other words, we claim God sees because we have eyes. We claim God hears because we have ears. We claim God loves because we have hearts. We use ourselves as measuring sticks when assigning attributes to God. That's only natural. But doesn't this make God really only what we have imagined? Human beings have personified God in every way imaginable. We impose our views on one another and then kill in defense of these dogmatic and inflexible interpretations. We tend to see our God personifications as the truth and all others as myth. But every culture, without exception, arrived at their particular beliefs in God personifications by way of mythology. Our variety of ideas about God are driven by our imaginations. Our imaginations are the foundations of all of our creations, including what we imagine God to be. Mythology is said to be the universal tongue of human imagination and is used as a tool for self-discovery and gaining access to the secrets of the psyche. Mythology is the timeless expression of the human imagination and helps to appease our natural curiosities. Imagination is the central ingredient in mythology. The truth, however, is that God is made in man's image. Whatever man has imagined God to be is precisely what God has become. That has not made man's image of God correct. It just means that God has been molded in the imagination of man. Man, throughout millenniums, have breathed life into all kinds of gods and goddesses, and even given them a wide range of supernatural abilities. Without the dynamics of the human imagination, would gods even exist? What in fact does exist outside of the realm of our imaginations? Non-personified gods and goddesses are moot entities, relegated to non-god status, since they have not yet been assigned names, genders, and attributes. Our imaginations give our gods arms and legs, a purpose and mission. We imagine our gods as omnipotent and all-knowing, and look to them for protection and guidance. Cultures throughout the world have connected their ideas of gods and their attributes with the natural world and the daily events that influence and inspire their lives. Our ideas about gods and goddesses have always been limited by what we see around us. The ancient Egyptians, for example, who introduced to the world a god concept, nourished their ideas of a god from the primary sources which profoundly impacted their lives: great sunshine, desert land, and a sustenance-providing river. Thus came the inspiration that created their god pantheon. After the yearly floods, nutrients were left behind, which fertilized the soil, producing an abundance of life in all forms. This occurrence, quite naturally, gave rise to their ideas concerning creation. This flooding of the Nile was the inspiration for many other flood stories, which are very common in ancient mythologies. There is absolutely nothing original about the imaginary story of Noah. Manu, one of many Noah-like characters that preceded the story of Noah, was also told to build an ark and to load it with all the animals. Because of the life-bringing force of the yearly flood, the ancient Egyptians imagined life emerging from a single mound that rose out of primordial waters, which contained a procreative energy which was the source of all life. In ancient India, Brahma, creator of all living things, was also imagined to have emerged from primordial waters. In ancient China, what they considered their 5 sacred mountains helped to shape their ideas about the god Pangu, whose body was imagined to transform into these mountains. Christianity is the world's most popular religion and was popularized by the Romans, which is the combination of the Greeks and the Romans. Christianity, like other world religions, is in the God personification business and is not exempt from being a product of man's imagination. Christianity, however, is unique because its concepts of creation and God personifications were derived from much older stories, primarily that of ancient Egypt. Because of this shortcut trip into the realm of religion, the natural world was not a factor in the evolution of Christianity, nor was this Abrahamic hierarchical-based belief system solely motivated by humans seeking understanding or spiritual upliftment. Christian fathers were also interested in world domination, conquest, and having psychological control over the masses. So the image of who they claim is the embodiment of God is literally them, and of course made in their image. The God of the Bible made the world in about a week, and then rested afterwards. Because of man's inherent fallible nature, the authors of the Bible had their God create the herbs, grass, and vegetation before the creation of the sun. The world is approximately 25,000 miles in circumference, but according to the Bible, God chose Israel, a small country located east of the Mediterranean Sea, as his primary source of interest. And although there are 6.2 billion people in the world of all different races, nationalities, and cultures, God chose Jews as his primary people. The story in Exodus, where Moses frees the Jews from bondage in Egypt, is another mythological story. Not only are there no archaeological, anthropological, excavational, or historical evidence of this deliverance, but there have been several lawgivers which preceded Moses that share nearly identical stories. Gods are often thought of as life givers, but more human beings have been killed in the many names given to our imagined gods than in all of the secular wars combined. There has been a worldwide consensus that the book called the Holy Bible are God's inspired words. Others will claim their holy books are the inspired words of God. Human beings have a long and storied history of going to war, attempting to prove each other's belief right. But how are some humans' imaginations right and some wrong? No religious text is responsible for inventing the principles of love, truth, peace, and reciprocity. These are timeless principles that transcend all religions and their imagined gods. These principles are embodied within the timeless cycles of nature.